Hello and welcome to the Fretboard Journal podcast. I am your guest host once again, Sofia Wolfson, assistant editor at the magazine. The Fretboard Journal podcast is brought to you by Peghead Nation. For 10 years now, it's been the finest spot on the internet to become a better acoustic player. Get your first month free or $20 off any annual subscription with the promo code FRETBOARD at checkout. We're also brought to you by Stringjoy Strings. You can save 10% on your first order at stringjoy.com with the promo code FRETBOARD. Today, I have the honor of interviewing Hank Heaven, who is a solo artist, a sideman, a Django Reinhardt expert, and so many other things. The timing of our conversation comes not only after Hank recently released a record called Loaded Dice, which everybody should check out. It's a really special record that combines a lot of influences we discuss in this podcast, everything from swing music to pop music, and it's truly a wonderful listen. But the timing of our podcast also comes because Hank is currently, you could call it, originating a Broadway role. Hank is playing in the house band of the musical Dead Outlaw, which is on Broadway right now. They also did it off Broadway, and now it has moved to Broadway. But the band is on stage the whole time and acts as characters in the musical. And the musical just got nominated for a bunch of Tony Awards. So Hank has been up to a whole lot recently, and we cover a bunch of cool stuff in this conversation. So thank you for tuning in. And just some quick reminders, our 56th issue just came out. So make sure you're either subscribed to the magazine or there's a page on our website just to buy the one specific issue if that's what you want to do. And the Fretboard Summit is coming up in August. So make sure you register in advance. It's in Chicago. So yeah, please enjoy my conversation with Hank Heaven. So I think listeners of the podcast will be new to your music, which tends to be the theme of my guest episodes. So a good place to start would be, could you kind of paint the picture of where you grew up and then maybe kind of one of your earliest music memories?
Sure, yeah. Well, I grew up in the Hudson Valley, in Cold Spring, New York.
Where is that relative to the city?
Let's say it's like an hour 35.
Precise.
You know? Above Westchester, below Poughkeepsie.
Got it.
And yeah, Cold Spring, Beacon, all those places are such a, it was like a hub for folk music.
Mm-hmm.
So my parents are musicians, and
what do they play?
My dad's a pianist and composer, and he plays a lot of different instruments. No guitar, but
okay,
like lap steel. Like he needs it to be horizontally in front of him, you know. And my mom, she was like a guitar teacher in town,
cool.
And she had a band, and they would do a lot of folk festivals, and that was kind of my intro into that world. It would be like, it was very wholesome folk music gatherings that I would have to go with my parents to.
Oh, okay.
You know,
it was one of those.
Yeah, it was like, and then hang out with the other kids that had like folk parents, you know.
So at what point did you then pick up an instrument and start to get involved in a way?
Yeah.
Not just getting dragged along as a kid.
Totally. Well, I told my parents, I said, like, I never want to play an instrument. This family plays.
Yeah.
Everyone plays an instrument.
You want to rebel.
Yeah, I would like to rebel. And I would like to be a chef.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yes. I said I wanted to be a chef in France. I said, like, I actually, like, wanted to change my identity. But basically, I picked up a guitar one day, and my sibling had already learned some chords.
Got it. Older or younger?
Younger. Sorry, older.
Older.
I just feel like
of course.
I'm their older sibling sometimes. Yeah. Just kidding. I don't want them to be listening to that. And I was like, what are you playing over there?
Yeah.
And they were like, Breathe by Anna Nalick or something. 2 Breathe in parentheses 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's pretty cool. And I was like, show me some of those chords.
Yeah.
And they showed it to me, and then I just like obsessively practiced that.
How old were you around that time?
I think I was like 8.
Okay.
And I was just like obsessed with getting it really good.
That's interesting. So you kind of had to come to it through your sibling as opposed to your parents, even though your parents are both musicians.
Yeah. And then it was obviously super helpful to be like, Mom, like what's this chord? Like, how do I play this B minor, And then your mom could show you. And then time goes on. And I mean, I just kind of got obsessed, Yeah. And so I just was playing all the time.
So when did you start to participate in some of those folk community settings that you described?
I never really
or that was for your parents?
That was like my parents did that. My sibling is an amazing songwriter. And so like when we got a little older, they would be singing. And I was like from a young age, like contracted as the like session guitar player for my sibling. Like if my dad was recording my sibling, it was like, Hank, come up here and play some guitar on this. So I would play, for my sibling. But honestly, they played a lot with themselves, and I'd play like open mics, playing guitar. Like I wasn't really singing as much, and I've left the songwriting for my sibling. So
okay, so you left the songwriting for your sibling. At what point did you start writing your own songs?
It was I would write songs, but I'd keep them to myself.
Right.
Because the bar felt so high with my sibling, and I was like, well, yeah. I think it was like an identity I took on very early in my life. And it wasn't until like I was like honestly 21 that I was like, I write my songs, and I like to write songs with people, and I would consider myself a songwriter now who plays guitar, rather than like guitar player who sometimes plays guitar,
Totally.
Or write songs,
Well, so one thing I find very interesting about you, which sounds so formal because you are my friend, is when you listen to your records, there are really interesting guitar moves going on, but you wouldn't necessarily know that you're a big gypsy jazz person. Could you talk a bit about how you got into all of that? Was that your parents, or was that separate?
It was like it was separate in the way that, my parents, no one's like a professional guitar player in my family. My mom taught guitar, but
more folk.
Yeah, more folk. And one day I was like watching I hate to say this, or I was watching a Woody Allen movie.
Okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's just part of the story here.
Yeah, it is. And that movie, Midnight in Paris, and the theme of that movie was written by this guitar player, Stefan Rembel. And I loved the tune. I think it's very very popular now. I think a lot of guitar players like learned it.
How old are you around this discovery?
12.
Okay.
And I was like obsessed with the song. And just like was like, what is this? I've never heard this kind of music. And my dad was like, Django Reinhardt, check it out. And I did, and I was like, this is awesome.
What did you like about it at the time?
I was like, at the time, I was really put off by like a bunch of gear. Like, I didn't like having I kind of wasn't like, I played electric guitar, but I wasn't like, let me like rage super hard. I was like, I just like playing really nicely on a guitar, on a acoustic guitar. And we had a lot of acoustic guitars around the house because my mom was playing folk music and stuff. And I was like, wait, you're telling me like these people just sit around a campfire or whatever and like are shredding on these acoustic guitars? And like, I was just like drawn to the melodies and it was like something in my mind. I was like, I'm obsessed with this music.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I must have been like, I feel like I was like French in a past life because I clearly wanted to be
chef.
Yeah. So I was just, yeah.
Okay, so because your mom taught more folk guitar, so when you're going down this gypsy jazz road, are you self-teaching? Do you have a teacher? What's going on?
Well, so then I was learning kind of on my own. My dad kind of got me a book, and I kind of was trying to read out of the book, and
it was written in French.
Yeah, totally. But it's just like kind of like you don't really get like you can play the notes, but it's like it's not really sounding like these recordings.
Thing.
Yeah. And then he was like, there's the Stefan Rembel is playing at a venue nearby, and he took me to go see it. And this is when he was playing with his band, which was kind of, it had another Django guitar playing the rhythm. He's playing a Django Manouche guitar, upright bass, and then drums. And he was playing his compositions, but they were all kind of like Django, revolving around that.
Themes, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like so taken by it. I don't know if you've ever seen him play. He plays at Barbez on like at 8 p.m. He really has his own style. Like,
cool.
I feel like it's like a polarizing style, you know?
Interesting. Why?
Because he takes Django and sort of evolves it, and it's almost like you're watching a rock band.
Cool.
Because he's just such a intense player, and he's an intense person.
Those things usually seem to correlate.
Yeah. And I think some people who are like traditionalists are like
traditionalists about Django
music. Especially in like the swing scene in New York, where it's very traditional, like the more perfect you can play it of the time that it was being played.
Got it.
I think the better.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
Uh-huh. So
he was just kind of, off the beaten path.
So did you meet him at that show?
Yeah, so I went up to him after, and I was like,
I'm sorry, you're 12?
Yeah, I was like, I want to learn this music. Do you teach lessons? And he was like, yeah, if you're a serious student. And I was like,
if you're serious
yeah,
about it.
if you're serious. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay. And he lived in Maplewood, New Jersey.
Okay.
And my great parents, they drove me down to Maplewood, New Jersey every Saturday morning. And I took lessons with him from 12 to move to the city. And I continued. So like 12 to like 19. And then I played in his band.
Oh my God, I didn't know this. Mm-hmm. Okay, what did playing in his band look like?
It's so funny because I started because I loved that song that he wrote for the movie, and then like flash forward 7 years and I'm like having to play the song every night. It's like, well, I got what I wanted.
Did you tour, or was it mainly in New York?
Yeah, so I toured with him. We would do a lot in the U.S. We did like the Green Mill in Chicago, which was really cool. Went south and stuff, and then also you play with his kind of residencies at Barbez on Sundays,
which is something you still do.
I still play. Like another like peer growing up was this violinist, Daisy Castro, and she would play with Stefan sometimes, and we were like roughly the same age, so we kind of grew up in that scene together.
Yeah.
And then now she plays after him some nights of the month, and I'll play in that band, you know.
So cool.
Just to kind of keep the chops up, you know.
Okay, so this is all really interesting to me because obviously my introduction to you is through all our more indie rock friends.
Totally.
So at what point do you, I'm not going to say make that transition because you're doing both, but at what point do you start playing in more pop adjacent music projects? I mean, obviously you've talked about your sibling was a songwriter, is a songwriter, and so there was already that.
Yeah.
But at what point do you kind of start your sideman career in the pop world?
Totally. Yeah. Well, when I finished high school and just moved right to the city, I was like, Stefan was like, you should just be playing gigs in the city. And that's what I did. And it was like hustling to get a ton of Django gigs.
Okay. So still that kind of.
Still that. I was still like a pretty normal teenager, and I like loved what everyone else was listening to. Like I wasn't just listening to Django Reinhardt, which was really funny. I just like kind of split. Like as soon as the door closed, I'd be listening to like Django Reinhardt, and then I'd go out to with my friends and like listen to like Kendrick Lamar, you know, and which was just really funny.
Probably write a paper about the similarities between those two.
Yeah, yeah. And they gave me the same emotional response, I would say.
That's important.
And yeah, so I moved, and I was still like just trying to get better and better at Django stuff. Learning how to gig, that was a learning curve, you know.
Could you say a little more about that?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of go and I didn't gig so much when I lived upstate, so it's like knowing like a huge repertoire and just getting like trial by fire, I guess. Yeah, totally. Where it's like,
and you were still so young.
Yeah, it's like being 18, and it's like, yeah, if you're in like a music school, like, oh, you're slowing down, all good, you're in school, learn, you know. But like if you're doing it on a gig, it's like,
yeah, and you're paying rent and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's like, don't slow down, you know, or like you're not playing the chain, you know, it's like just learning by just embarrassment for a while, and then you get better.
Absolutely.
You know? But so I was doing that. But again, I was also listening to I wasn't really listening to Django as much anymore. Like I wanted to listen to the indie artists of my time.
Yeah, totally.
I can't remember, but I got the artist Samia, who was our friend.
Big Samia shout out. We
love Samia. She was looking for a guitar player.
How'd you meet?
Through like a mutual friend, like my friend's mom.
Oh, it's always like that.
Yeah, and it was like, this girl's looking for a guitar player, and I was like, I'm down. I want to like do something different.
Yeah.
Or just have like a little offshoot. So we started playing, and at the time it was just, you know, in New York, and just kind of those gigs around New York, you know.
Oh yeah, what venues?
I mean, it was like Rockwood and
of course,
stuff.
Pianos.
Yeah, like it wasn't the ones we're vibing out to now.
Yeah.
But who was, you know, at the time. And so,
was it just the two of you, or was there a band?
There was a band. It would like switch for a while before. Now it was before we found basses and drums. But I was kind of always rocking with that.
Yeah.
And that was just really cool to like be involved in a new scene like that and meet more people. And then she booked a tour with Hippocampus, and we went on tour, and I was like 20, and I had the time of my life, and I was like, Django Reinhardt who? This is like so fun.
Yeah, I bet that the Samia tour at 20 is a bit different than the Stefan Django tour.
Yeah, I mean like one
Just
is
different vibes.
so it was extremely different vibes.
Yeah. Okay, so you get like a taste of the rock star life.
Yeah, it was like being a rock star is awesome.
Yeah.
And that kind of snowballed into other things. Like I met Jake Lupin of Hippocampus, and we later on, me, Sam, Rafaela, and this other artist Ryan.
Oh yeah. We love Vic.
Yeah, we love Vic. She's the best. Decided to go to LA and like record some songs, and we put it out as this project Peach Fuzz.
Yeah.
And
so this is, if I'm kind of combining some of the things we talked about, like Peach Fuzz is happening kind of around the time, or maybe shortly after you decide you're gonna start writing songs in a more serious way.
Yeah, and
because you've always written, but
totally. Well, I think that was the first time like going out and doing those sessions where you're like, okay, like I'm writing with amazing songwriters.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling inspired by that, and I'm being taken seriously like that. So, and then Jake was like, if you ever want to record your stuff, like let me know. Come to Minnesota. And I was like, okay. And then I don't even know. Like one day I just did, and he lives with his fiance now.
Yeah.
Who's my best friend, Rafaela, and I had like a couple songs I had wrote that I wanted to record, but like we kind of wrote out there, and it was just like a perfect week. And
around when?
This was 2022, like January of 2022. Okay. And yeah, that was just like how my first EP kind of came about. Cool. And
did you have the intention to be a solo artist, or kind of these circumstances and getting to do this magical week and all that kind of planted the seed? Like when was that decision made?
I was kind of I didn't necessarily have like, I didn't know what my goal was in putting out the music. I think I was just like, I want people to listen to it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really until like I put out one song and it just gained a little traction.
Yeah.
Probably through the help
I just watched you trying to find the polite way of saying that.
The polite way of saying it was helped by music streaming services.
Thank you.
And then I started like working more with like thinking about maybe, having a team and what that looks like. And then when you have people like that, it's like, okay, I'm taking myself seriously.
Yeah.
And I want to grow my following, and like I want to pursue that. And I love writing songs. Like I love writing songs for other people. I love writing songs for myself.
And you've already had this whole trajectory, even at a young age, of supporting other people, whether it's a sideman thing or helping other people write or touring with other people's projects. So it makes sense to me that you kind of made this, again, not transition, but this parallel of like, wait, maybe I also want to do my own project.
Yeah. And I think that my parents like love that I'm pursuing that, because I feel, especially on my dad's side, it's like generations of sidemen.
That's so funny. Your grandparents?
Yeah, like my grandpa, just like violinist for like kind of sidemen, accordion players, just kind of like,
That's amazing.
Support.
Yeah.
Which I love to do, no problem,
Yeah. And you still do.
Yeah.
So you put out a record recently. Could you talk about a bit of the writing and recording process for that?
Yeah. I feel like it's very evident, I think, on the record which songs I wrote by myself and what songs I wrote out there. When I say out there, I mean in Minnesota where I go to record.
The studio we already mentioned with Jake and
yes.
Ruff, yeah.
Yeah. And it was so funny to have to like put that album out as your first album and also like promote it, because the themes are pretty dark in some ways. Like it makes it almost, it's very happy sounding, but I kind of wanted the record to portray this like kind of La La Land vibe where you're kind of doing whatever you want, and then it kind of ends in like eventual loss.
Yeah.
And like trying to figure out like the themes of what's important to you and your values and yeah, and like losing the things that actually matter to you.
Yeah.
And so it was nice because like once I was around my friends, it just felt like more light-hearted to just write like a silly, fun song that could be like people listen to it and they're like, that's so fun. And it's like in the scheme of the album, it's actually like kind of sad. It's like supposed to be like this fake kind of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like you totally get that when you listen to it top to bottom, but perhaps out of context, a couple of the songs could feel more fun.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And like, I listen to it now, I'm like, yeah, it's like it can get pretty sad, you know?
But that's honest.
Yeah, totally. And, and I think like I come up with my best ideas just like on the spot of like, come up with a guitar riff and like, let's come up with something cool, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I work. I'm drawn a lot by chord progressions because I think I'm coming from like the swing world.
Yeah.
I'm so inspired by swing songs, like old swing tunes. It was funny. I was talking to, do you know the artist Joanna Sternberg?
Yeah.
So we played a lot, like they play upright bass, and we played a lot of gigs together when I was younger, you know, like because they're in the same scene, in the swing scene, and they're like, old swing tunes are like my pop music. And it's so true. Yeah. It's like the melodies and the progressions is something I draw a lot on. And I think it like, so I don't like rewrite over progressions, but like, I think I'm influenced by that. And I think the way chords move into each other for me creates an emotional response that I can like tap into.
Yeah.
Rather than like, sometimes I have like, you know, a vocal hook in my head, but it's mainly like drawn from, okay, let me like put something down on guitar or piano and like see if I can like find the thread between, you know?
Cool.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about tracking guitars on this record?
Yeah. So it's funny because there's like not many there's no live drums except on one song on this album.
Really?
Yeah. Which is funny. But I think for tracking, we did a lot of like freaking the guitar sounds, right? Because like I think it was like my act of like rebellion because I was so like I've grown up playing it. Like, okay, you have to, it's all in the right hand technique and like playing it really well. And I was like, let's just freak it. Cause this is my music and I want to be freaky, you know?
Yeah.
And, it would involve like going through, I guess I was just using Jake's guitar. I think it was like a Jazz Master, going through a bunch of pedals into like a Kemper into the computer. Like it was like, it was freaky.
Yeah.
And getting like really chorused out guitars, using like Nashville tuning guitars, anything to make it weirder.
Yeah.
Which is fun, you know? And I thought, so, and I think I'm also driven by like come up with like a guitar hook, you know? That's a vibe.
Yeah.
And so playing all the guitar on that record.
This seems like a good moment to maybe talk a little bit about some of the important guitars in your life.
Yes.
So could you tell me a little bit about what you play right now?
Sure. My go-to is a Nash Telecaster.
Oh, I didn't
Shout
know you
out
play a
Nash.
Nash.
I do play a Nash. And
Isaac Stalling, who has been mentioned on this podcast too.
Oh, yeah.
Also plays a Nash.
Does he?
Yeah.
Wow. They're awesome.
Yeah.
I wanted to buy a telly, and I one day like went around to like most of the guitar stores in Brooklyn and Manhattan. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I got to South Side.
Yeah, in Williamsburg.
And they had like a ton of Nash guitars, and that was the first time I played one, and I was like, yeah, this is awesome. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of bought it that day. I was like, this is great.
Yeah. When you know, you know.
When you know, you know. And it's like got this like kind of chunky neck, which I like because I'm coming from the like Django guitar, which has such a chunky neck.
Yeah.
And I put really heavy strings on it because again, I'm like used to such like a bulky guitar.
Yeah.
That's the like Selmer guitar over there.
Oh yeah, we're looking at the Django guitar.
Yeah. And that's when I play like Django gigs. That's a guitar made by a maker named Bob Holo. I bought that from Stefan, but Bob is like a very interesting guy. He's like, I don't know if he's necessarily a hobby. I wouldn't call it a hobbyist maker, but like he's very like his guitars are amazing, right?
Yeah.
So especially in this scene with the Django stuff, like there's a lot of people maybe that have a lot of money, you know?
Yeah.
And some lawyers will be like, can you make me a guitar? And it's like, no, I'm not making it. Like,
interesting.
He like really has to resonate with your playing, it seems. And so he would make it for Stefan, and then I bought that guitar, and then I played a Django festival on Whidbey Island off Seattle, where he's based, and I saw him like walk up to me after, and I was like, I'm so nervous because I think he knows I'm playing one of his guitars, and he's like, I recognize that number 64. I think it's before I put the truss rods in. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, happy to see. He was like, he was stoked. So I got like the blessing to keep playing.
You got the blessing.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
And then what else? Honestly, like I rock my Nash. Honestly, I play a lot of jazz gigs on my Nash because you can make it
cool,
like sound arch-toppy.
Yeah.
And then I play, yeah.
And are you? I mean, you mentioned not loving gear,
yeah,
but or like excessive gear,
yeah.
But what's your pedal situation? Like if you're playing a Hank show?
Yeah, totally. It's pretty bare bones.
Which I'll say is really in right now.
Yeah, it is because I
like Lenderman has like I mean at least on previous tours, maybe not this current one, but like literally 2 pedals.
Yeah, and like I think that was something I drew from like the swing players too. It's like everyone's got something, and it's just also being in New York. You're like, I'm not lugging a pedal board to the gig. I better get.
That is very true.
Like
it comes out of necessity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's got to be okay. So on my board, I always rock a Strymon Flint for everything I do because I think it just makes you sound swaggy.
It does.
Yeah. And
the classic LA sound.
Yeah.
Everyone's got it. But it really does the thing.
It really does what you need it to do. I use it for like for swing gigs. And then I have like it's the B&B preamp that kind of like works as an overdrive.
Cool.
But you can like boost the bass so you don't really lose the when you like click on like an OCD pedal, like suddenly it's just compressed too much.
Yeah, totally.
And it's like my new favorite thing.
Oh, cool.
And then like distortion, forget about it. Like it's gonna be it's like I'm rocking like a Boss.
I love it.
Distortion pedal.
And I mean, you don't really need anything else.
Yeah, and like honestly, like, it's with my guitar, and then I have my Fender Champ right here that's like vintage, and I honestly get a lot of my sound from it because it's so small. Sound guys
can really crank it.
Love it because you're rolling up to the gig with a small amp. Yeah, it's like awesome, and you can crank it and get such like the crunch.
I grew up with one of these.
Yeah, like when you dig in, it just crunches on its own. Yeah, and it's such like a specific sound that I would say is like a signature thing for me. So I try to always rock my
Where did you get this old Champ?
It was my dad's. He gave it to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, my dad is always like, we'll never have like a like trust fund for you, kid, or like a college fund, but you know what? If you want when we're gone, you have to go up there and like take inventory, and then you could like maybe that'll be it, you know?
Yeah.
It's like definitely every time I need maybe a little gear, it's like, he's got it, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
It is amazing. It's like a perfect resource.
Okay, so it feels like a good time I feel like I've been burying the lead a bit, which is something you're doing right. Okay, so we've talked about you grew up in folk scenes, your parents play. Mm-hmm. You play for your sibling, that's like more of a folk thing. Mm-hmm. You do the Django thing for a number of years, you're still doing. Mm-hmm. You tour with rock pop adjacent projects. Mm-hmm. You currently have a different endeavor entirely, which is, if you weren't doing so many things already, you are now technically originating a role in a Broadway musical, I will say. You're in the house band, but I will preface for listeners that this is not just like a pit hidden. This is like a band that is on stage. Yeah. Could you talk a bit about this musical?
Yeah.
Also, I will mention that we are having a storm in New York.
We are having a storm.
We might hear some rain, but that's okay. It's for the vibes and the ambiance.
It's true. I can close the window, but
I kind of like it.
Yeah, me too. Yes, I'm in a show called Dead Outlaw.
Dead Outlaw.
And it's on Broadway, and I played. I love to call it my day job. Yeah. But it's now like it's a very interesting show because it's so me-core.
It is incredibly you-core. So could you talk a bit about, before we even get into like how you got the job, can you just tell people about the general plot and the style of music?
Yes. So it's a ridiculous story about, and I'm not giving it away. So yeah, let me preface this. Like, it's a true story about this man named Elmer McCurdy who was born in like 1890, becomes kind of an unsuccessful outlaw, and is killed in like 1911. Okay. Maybe yeah. I don't know. He was like young. Mm-hmm. And he's killed, and he is embalmed because no one has come to claim him yet. Uh-huh. But then like the coroner kind of like spins it as like, there's a dead outlaw that you can see. And then it just spirals into this whole thing of like his body being passed around. Whoa. Kind of for like the greed of the American people. Crazy. And then it's just a lot of weird things happen, and you're like, this guy is just chilling around and embalmed and he's almost forgotten about, and they think he's like just a prop, and they like hang him from a noose in an amusement park ride for like 5 years until someone is like, that is a man. And then he's finally buried in like 1976.
Crazy. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then what's the music style like?
So then the music is very, so it was written by David Yazbek, who did The Band's Visit, and then Eric De La Pena, who's an amazing player, New York legend. He's like so Gen X New York player. I love it. You know, they're so over it, you know?
Yeah, totally.
and he's got a really great style. And so he made, like, it's very, like, telly. It's not, like, country.
Yeah.
It's, like, western-y, like, kind of rye cooter.
Cool. You just said the golden words for this magazine.
Yeah. Eric's a great player, and so we, it's a guitared out show. Yeah. Let me tell you, if you love guitar, you're gonna love this show.
What, could you give a shout out to where's the theater?
It's at Longacre Theater.
Okay.
It's like driven. I know that Broadway especially has diminished to a small pit, you know, like they're done with the orchestra,
huge orchestra,
because it's too hard. It's too much money to put on, which is not a great thing. Yeah. But for this musical, it really works. The band's on stage the whole time. Yeah, it's 2 guitars. It's me, and then I got my buddy J.R. Atkins, the other guitar chair.
I love that not only you got this job, you got one of your best friends also on this gig.
Yeah, because Eric, the composer, used to, when we did it off Broadway, he was the other chair. Yeah. And he was like, I'm not doing 8 shows a week. I wrote this show. And it's like very fair. It's
okay, got it. So JR took his spot.
And yeah, but like, you know, auditioning people, like, it's a specific role and everyone on stage has a specific vibe. It's like you gotta kind of talk the talk. That's why I'm like,
I mean, you gotta walk the walk. You're not just
you're on stage the whole time. You're like being seen. You're a part of the scenes. Yeah. And
do you have lines?
I don't have lines, but I have like actions that I must do.
You're acting.
You have to pull a gun.
Wow.
Yeah. I pretend I'm in jail.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, and it's perfect. It's like exactly the way I play guitar. I want my guitars to sound. Again, it's like the Flint, the V&V. It's like perfect.
And on this, you're not just playing guitar. What else are you playing?
I do. I play lap steel and I play mandolin.
Cool.
Which is so fun because I just get to, like, every night I just get to try stuff. Yeah. That's the other thing about how cool this gig is like usually with theater, it's like so
on the grid,
do the same thing every time. And a lot of it, I think, to an person that improvises often, they're like, yeah, this could be a little in the box. But at the same time, you can do a lot of different things every night.
That's surprising for Broadway.
Yeah, because you want that, they want that kind of, you know, spontaneity in the music, which is awesome, you know? Yeah. And they want like rock, like they want you to dig in. They want you to really like shred. And the music is so good. So I actually have a really fun time doing it every night. Yeah.
So, okay, now that we have the backstory on the show itself, could you talk a bit about how you landed this?
How I landed this, yeah.
Because you mentioned you did it off Broadway first.
Yeah. I think it was like, it was kind of a who do you know, like friend. Basically, the music supervisor, Dean Chernow, I guess maybe he got my number. I want to say it was through that producer Jesse Harris, he does like the Norah Jones stuff. Cool. And he's a great musician, and I think he did something with Samia, and I helped with that way back. Yeah. And so I guess he just was, it was like for another musical ages ago. Mm-hmm. And he called me out of the blue, and I was like, I think I had to do another thing, so I couldn't do it. Yeah. And then he's like, I played in another band with him, Dean, like he was on drums, and it was kind of...
The music supervisor.
Okay. And this was just like a band for this guitar player, Stephen Ulrich, who's in this band Big Lazy, and he wrote the music of This American Life, and we were playing the music of This American Life.
Wait, that's so cool.
Yeah, and that's very like Ry Cooder, very guitaristic stuff. Yeah. So I was the second guitar in that, and that's when Dean was like, okay, he called me up and was like, do you want to do this show? And I was like,
and at this moment, it's brand new.
Yeah. This was the first time it was, being performed. It had been workshopped. I wasn't part of that, but like it was going to be off Broadway, and he was like, you want to do it? And I was like, sure. I am not, it's not that I'm not trained, but I'm just like, I have imposter syndrome. I never went to music school, and I am not like the quickest reader in the world, So I just kind of was like, all right, dude, yes, but here's like the vibe from me.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a learning curve, but at the same time, I got better and also like gave them what they needed, which was like they didn't want like a perfect player.
Yeah.
They wanted someone that had like
more character.
Yeah, it's like a little scrappy. Like I would say like I think I grew up playing such like technically intense music that now when I play electric guitar, I try to make it as scrappy as possible. I really try to smack it around.
Yeah.
And it was so funny, like, I started rehearsals last year for Off Broadway, and there's, a learning curve. I'm like learning how to follow this conductor, and, not mess up in like really vulnerable moments, like, try to get everything very perfect. And
well, because you're also, you know how to do a bunch of shows in a week because you've toured before, but it's a little different when it's Broadway and it's 8 shows a week, and it's truly the same thing over and over.
Yeah. And like, I'll never forget this. I just felt like I wasn't like, we were in rehearsal. This was in the Off-Broadway run, and I was like kind of down on myself. You're just like, you want to make it as best as you can.
Yeah.
And one of the composers, David Yazbek, we were figuring out this one number, and there needed to be like a dance break in the number.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, what should we do here? And then he comes up to me and he's like, he doesn't really know my background. He goes, we kind of need like a big band, like Django Reinhardt solo here.
Stop.
And I was like,
he like, just said that?
Yeah. And I was like, I think I'm about to redeem myself, like, here right now.
Did you say anything, or you just?
And I was like, yeah. And so then I played a solo, and like they loved it. They kept it in the show, and now we do it now. And and it's not only that, they give me like the guy that's singing it, he goes, say hello to my friend Hank Heaven, and then like the chandeliers come down, and I like play the Django-ish solo. Sometimes he says, Hank, take me to heaven. But it is really crazy that they kept that, because it's
that's so special.
Yeah, it is really special. And you're like, wow, I'm not like this in a pit. Like, I'm like here, and I'm being part of this show, which is really cool,
It's amazing how things come together.
Yeah, it's like, I'm doing the solo, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, this is so random.
That 12-year-old who saw the movie, who was obsessed with all things French.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Who started playing indie music, who got this gig, and then who knew that person who got... Yeah. It's like, it'll all end up where you never expected to end up.
It's truly crazy.
Yeah, but I hope people come and see the show.
Yeah, so could you just, since we're almost at the end, can you talk a bit about what your next few months look like? So you're doing the show, but you're also going on tour. So could you talk about both?
Yeah. So I'm doing the show. Come out. It's 8 times a week.
You got plenty of opportunities.
You have so many opportunities to come see it. I go out next month with Allison Pontier, and
to clarify, as Hank Heaven.
Yes, as Hank Heaven
solo project.
Yes. Then I go out again in September with Samia.
Full circle.
A tour, and Rennie Conti's on the other leg of the tour.
Well, we'll say Rennie has been a guest on this podcast.
I've listened and loved.
Yeah. So those listeners, that'll be some special shows if you want to catch both Hank and Rennie.
Yeah. in LA where it's all three of us on the bill.
Yeah.
I really suggest you come out. And then I play in Pitchfork Paris for in November, and
Cool.
in a London show. So
I'm so sorry, you're playing in Paris?
I'm playing in Paris. Wait.
It all comes back. Have you ever played a Hank? I mean, I know you've toured the world in other people's projects, obviously. Have you played a Hank show in Paris?
Never played a Hank show in Paris.
Oh, man.
It's really full circle. I'm thinking I'm going to try to, like, get a Django gig there.
You should.
Because I know a lot of, like, the Django players there, and I feel like...
Stefan must know somebody, too.
Yeah, totally. And, like... No, there's, like, a lot of homies that I'm like, can you get me a gig? Like, I want to play a Hank Heaven gig and then be like, and then come to this little bar.
Bar.
Like, let's go. You know?
And then you have to cook something.
Yeah, and then I'll have to cook something.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like, I really wanted to be I actually know exactly what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a chef, a French chef, I guess. I wanted to change my nationality.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to be, my name to be Jacques and have a mustache. So obviously I was, like, showing trans, and here I am.
Yeah.
I was showing trans symptoms. And here I am, kind of non-binary, playing in France.
Yeah.
Name's not Jacques, it's Hank.
It's Hank.
Yeah.
And if we haven't made that totally clear already.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And you're my friend, but I feel like I learned so much.
Well, that makes me so happy.